What is going on right now in Japan? Because if you can look at the dates, 22, 28, and then, 22, 28, then the 5th and the 12th, and then now the 19th. That means Japan has held a major every week so far since the season has started. Every week. That is unprecedented for any region in the world, obviously, and it definitely can feel a bit daunting if you're not in Japan competing when this happens, because it's like oh no, how am I ever gonna keep up with a scene that can just throw on super majors every single day of the week? That is kind of unfortunately what happens when the best players in the world are kind of congregated now in one section, and they're not the best players in the world because they farm these Japanese tournaments over and over again. It's because they go, like, I don't think there's a single Japanese player in the top 20 this season that didn't go over to the States and have an impactful run in some sort of way. All of them did something and top dated a major or something along those lines. You can't really deny that they don't deserve where they were ranked. When all that congregation happens and events after events keep happening and everyone keeps showing up, yeah, it's going to happen where there is a lot of major events back to back to back. So yes, this is all happening. All these events are happening over and over again, but it's not the end of the world. Because the big thing with Japan is that this new time period of like late December to January for the past few years has kind of been their most compact in terms of majors, due to it also being like winter break for school and holidays and such. I don't really know if it really matters over there that much, but after Sumabato 55 that's coming up in the next few days, there's not going to be another Japanese major until most likely the next Sumabato, which is going to probably happen every month. Let's be honest, when all the best players are also in West Japan and they all come out to compete, it's gonna hit a major, probably guaranteed. But I'd also say it being the weekend after Genesis means I wouldn't be surprised if this is a much smaller Sumabato than what you'd expect, because a lot of Japan is going to Genesis, and we'll talk about that a bit later. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's not the biggest. And then on top of that, there'll probably be one in March, but that'd be the only event that's really going to be big in that time period. And Delta 10 is in April, as well as the beginning of Golden Week. But the first weekend of Golden Week, which I don't think a lot of people realize, is the same weekend as Level Up Expo. So the reason why a lot of Japanese players are traveling from Japan to Level Up Expo is because it is actually during Golden Week. So a lot of people can like get off from work, or it is just like a time period where they don't have other obligations because it is a holiday. Whatever potential major that's happening the same weekend as Level Up Expo might not even be a major, because literally I think almost all of Japan's best are going to be at Level Up Expo. And then obviously there will probably be a Kagaribi the week after, because that's always in that May time period. So expect Delta, but there's no Delta during Golden Week, so it's probably not going to be nearly as big as, say, the Deltas in the past during that time period. So yeah, there are majors that are coming up this season, but after Kagaribi, it's just like the Sumabatos. That's it. NA has a lot of time to catch up. We don't know when the hell there might be another Maisuma top. You can never count out Maida-kun of just spawning an event, to be honest, so I can't really call out to say like, this is it for Japan. So what can the other regions do to catch up? Well, I know that Europe has a few events that are happening. Unfortunately, there's GameCom's LAN X CGN Open. I know it's a pretty big event that some German content creators are working on, and unfortunately, it's just not attracting the people outside of Germany. It's a pretty big German event, but it's just not getting the other EU attendance it really should be getting, especially because I don't really think a lot of EU players are going to Genesis this year. We'll look at Genesis attendance in a bit, but right now I don't think there is a lot. And then on top of that, afterwards is, where is it? Valhalla, which is the same weekend as Level Up Expo, which I think outside of Gluto, I don't know of any other EU going to Level Up Expo, so that's already like a potential event that people could go to. I know Valhalla used to be a major series back like before pandemic, but hasn't really hit that mark since. And then there's no Tech Zone, which is like an Icarus successor, which I think already Zamba's going to, so that's like another event. It also has some other EU players that are not just from Italy that are there that could potentially be a major if others show up. There's also some other stuff that's not announced first half of the year, waiting for that stuff to be announced, but there's other potential EU events that could do it. So the main focus we could talk about, because a lot of the stuff that is announced for NA I can actually talk about that's here, has plenty of events and chances to catch up. It's not just, oh, let's congregate all our players in one area for a month. No, North America is a much diverse scene in how it's spread out, and obviously if you get the top players to show up, it's not that hard to maybe hit like an A tier at least. So what events can possibly do it that are currently here? Let's head to February, because January is a little too late at this point. First and foremost, there's Genesis. And Genesis, to me, currently is in a weird spot, and I'll explain in a second. My browser just crashed. What? Sorry about that. So, Genesis is happening, and a bunch of top players are signed up, etc., etc. But you'll notice, as you go through this list, there are a lot of Japanese players showing up to this event. Like, a lot. Some that haven't been over to States in like a long time, or some making it international debut. The one thing I'd like to point out with this happening, while there's a lot of Japan, more of Japan's top 15 from last season, I believe, are registered than North America's. And it needs to show up to defend. And like, I think there's players who said they're going that aren't currently signed up, but like, until they sign up, I'm not going to count you towards attendance, because like, I think Tweak and Light said they were supposed to be going, but they're not signed up yet. Sox finally registered recently. Obviously, though, Genesis is an event that takes, I don't know why, it always takes so long for like registration to happen in terms of people to like actually register. So I wouldn't be surprised if more names pop up more like over time, but just the amount of Japanese players going, like I'm just looking at the names that aren't typical overseas. And like, I think this is Rio's second time in Japan, in North America. First time was Battle BC. Akakusu is returning after last Genesis. Taikei, I think this is their second time. This is Torigiri's second time. Jokobu's second time. Meki's been over a few times. Yonpi is, I think, or Yonpi, whatever. Yonpi's international debut. Kainabe's returning. Once again, Mildna HO for international debut. Gax returning. Yamadi, I think this is also their international debut. A lot of Japanese players showing up. But I was also looking at this attendance list, and there's a lot of really cool international reps that are here that I was kind of surprised to see, and I'm really curious to see how they do. Peppa being here is super sick. I'm really curious to see how Peppa does. One of at least the top 3 in Chile, I believe, or something like that. So it'd be super sick to see how he does there. There was another one I saw the other day. I'm curious if it's... Oh yeah, you from the Philippines. I know you had actually some pretty solid runs at Japanese events, so really curious to see how they do also in North America. Yeah, a lot of cool players showing up. I hope it hits P tier. It'd be really weird if it doesn't. It'd be the first one that hasn't since I don't know. I guess ever. Let's look at the other events. There's Cavalier Clash. Now Cavalier Clash has already a B+, like 2 months out. They just need to secure some other people to show up, but otherwise it's probably gonna hit A tier. Like pretty likely in a new major series. MGA's first new major that's not Supernova since 2022, which is a pretty big deal for the scene considering a lot of their majors were through VGBC. So having a new organization come through and like really organize this new event is super sick. There's some really cool players going. Shiny Mark gonna be probably his first major in the States. Tarek coming over internationally. Another event that could be really interesting, and I think nice solid like NA focused major. It just needs to get, you know, maybe some more of the top of North America to show up. But otherwise, this could be the Syrup major. Like looking at the players who are here. Going through, you'll see there's not a lot of tiers because we don't show tiers for events 2 months out. But the next one, obviously, the docket's Battle BC 7. Battle BC hasn't been not major since like Battle BC 4. And I know they're planning on getting a lot of events players out there. Already over 200 entrants. MKLeo is going. Not listed here, but they are going. Or Sonics and Spargo as well. Obviously, another event that's 2 events already in March. Like, that's pretty big. So that's already 3 confirmed majors, while Japan probably has like 2. So definitely still some time to catch up needing. But it doesn't end there, because in April, there are a few events Obviously, there's Level Up Expo. I can't show you the attendance because it's not public, but you should just know that Level Up is probably going to be the other premier event of the season. And then there's two that I keep my eye on. Best of the West 3 Climb Hazard is, I don't think it'll be a major, but it is pretty big already in terms of just Mexican players. Sprago, Leo, Waka, Big Boss, Gilhu, Alendis. Like, this is already a pretty big event. I think it could if either more of Mexico shows up. And then there's Diamond Dust 2. So Diamond Dust last year was an event that was pretty close to hitting major. Unfortunately, just missed the mark, I think. Or like, it's pretty close overall. Had a lot of pretty strong players. If those people go back and they find new people to show up as well, could be Michigan's first ult major in a while, since I think 2022 as well. So that's pretty big. So there's definitely a lot of new series on the come up that can do it. It's a matter of people showing up and showing out. And then, yeah, as I said, Level Up Expo, and then there's MomoCon, which I think pretty consistently gets some top players to show up, so it could be easily another major this year. CEO finally being back in Orlando is also pretty big. I don't know if it'll get the attendance. It should be a major, but I don't know if it will. That being said, I think it might be the only Florida event happening this first half of the year. I don't know, or I haven't heard anything about Cirque 5, so like that could already be a big factor to its favor. Comic Palooza, for an event that is quite far out, is already pretty decently stacked. Like, it's already a B tier with quite a few good players in attendance already. Once again, don't know if it would be an A tier, but Texas hasn't had a major in a while. I wouldn't be surprised if it does. If this is the one that does it, we'll have to see. But pretty cool overall that there's an event this stacked this far out. And then the last one probably to talk about is Gamma Level Forever, which is another event who hasn't missed a major in a year. So overall, what I'm trying to say here is that like there is plenty of opportunities for NA to have a major. It's a matter of attending, and that's always what it's going to be. And they can catch up pretty, I think, easily if they actually just show up to events. Even if they're not all S tiers, like A tiers are still pretty big. We'll just have to see what happens. How many invitationals do you think are getting this season? At least for the first half of the year, if that's what we're talking about. I don't know, man. I don't really know if we're gonna really see any big ones, to be honest. Probably like a Luminosity Invitational, if I had to guess. I don't know any plans about that. I'm not gonna talk about it because I just genuinely don't know, or nor can I if I did. But I wouldn't be surprised considering they hosted 2 last year. I wouldn't be surprised if there's one at least sometime in the spring. Other than that, I feel like invitationals are always more of a second half of the year thing, so I don't think we're going to see that many, at least. Just attend events. I think that like people are going out of their way to attend events this season. I think a lot of people are like fired up, which has been cool to see.